let's say hello. So, hello everybody. It's great to be back today. It's been a little while since we last did a live webinar, and I know that I personally really missed it, and I know that Suzie has as well. It was never a case of just kind of disappearing behind the scenes. It's we've been very productive. We've been working on a new website, which is going to be launching quite soon, which is great. And we've been looking at putting bits and pieces together for an amazing event, which will be kind of giving more details to everybody soon. So it was only right to kickstart our events again by bringing Suzie back, because Suzie's been with us right from the start, and I know how popular Suzie's webinars have been. So it was we weren't going to ask anybody other than Suzie to kind of kick us off again. So I know that Suzie's really excited to get going, and I know that this topic is something that she loves to kind of talk about and what have you. It's one of her favorite subjects. So as I always say, nobody's here to listen to me. It's all about our guests and everyone else. That's become my little catchphrase, and I've really missed saying that. So yeah, Suzie, no one's here for me. It's all about you. Over to you. Welcome back. Great to see everyone.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you for the lovely introduction. As always, I have missed those as well. Welcome to everyone. So we might have some new people, or we might have some people that haven't been here before. So let us know in the chat box if you're new. Just type in new, and also just let us know where you're dialing in from, whether it's London, UK, abroad. We love to hear where you're dialing in from. So for those of you who don't know me, actually, let me just turn off something. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Suzie Flynn. I am a mindset and business coach. So I basically help executive assistants build their virtual assistant business. I was an executive assistant for 22 years, which is like half my life. So I'm showing my age. I transitioned briefly into the virtual assistant role before deciding to move full speed ahead in terms of building my coaching business, and I love what I do. But I'm here today to talk about the power of reframing to build your resilience and positivity. So we're going to look at how you can reframe your thoughts, perspectives, and shift out of that negative and more into a positive mindset. Okay. So, firstly, what is reframing? Well, reframing is effectively the way that we think and feel about something. Okay, so when reframing is switching something from a negative, a problem, an issue, a weakness to a strength, a solution, an opportunity. So it's effectively an NLP technique. I don't know if anyone's heard of NLP. Paul, you're nodding, but for those who don't, and the many different certificates I have and things that I'm trained in, I'm an NLP practitioner. And it stands for neuro-linguistic programming, but I don't want to go into that because I don't want to go into the details of that, but it's just an NLP technique. And basically NLP and reframing is a way to almost challenge your limiting beliefs and shift you out of that negative place. Now, obviously we know that there's a lot going on with the world or in the world, and sadly the assistant industry has taken quite a big hit in terms of redundancies. So I imagine there's a lot of negative thinking, focusing on the problems. As humans, we naturally gravitate towards the negative. So I want to support you today to help you shift out of the negative and shift into... I'm just going to pause because sometimes my internet connection goes unstable, but I think I freeze, but you can still hear me. You can still hear me, can't you, Paul? Yeah, I didn't cut out. Okay, good. So we've got a couple of people coming in, one from South London and Elizabeth joining from Amsterdam. So we're in Europe. Fantastic. So reframing is about, as I mentioned before, it's about switching from a negative into a positive, finding a lesson in a problem or an opportunity in a problem, or looking at a strength when perhaps you've been looking and focusing on a weakness. And when we react to something, and I'm going to give you some tangible examples, and I'd love for people to pop in the chat box some of the things that they're struggling with, and I will do my best to help you reframe that, because it takes time and practice to reframe. But I've been doing it for so long, I don't even know when I started doing it, probably before I became an NLP practitioner, but it's kind of become a second nature thing for me. But yeah, so when you react to a situation, okay, you can change your response. Oh, we've got someone from Australia. Hi, Kerry. Worldwide now. When you can't change a situation, so let's just use an example of trains. When I used to work as an executive assistant in London, I would travel on a company called Southern Rail, although they were nicknamed Southern Fail because their trains were often delayed, and Paul's smiling because he completely gets it. And it could cause a lot of stress. I'd speak to people while I was waiting for a train, and one guy said, oh, I'm going to miss putting my daughter to bed, and those kind of things. And it became stressful because it would have a knock-on effect on your journey home, and you'd be tired. But how we react and how we respond can actually be two different things. So first of all, I noticed within this situation that I would get stressed, I'd get annoyed. And then I realized that actually I can reframe my response and my reaction to that situation. So instead of saying to myself, oh my God, the train's late again, I'm so annoyed, I'm going to get home late, I've got loads to do, I looked at the opportunity that was there. So a possible reframe for that would be, well, I need to get my friend a birthday card and my train's delayed for 10 minutes, so I can use this as an opportunity to go and get that birthday card because it's the exact time that I need to pop into Paperchase, which is in Victoria, choose a nice birthday card for my friend, and now I don't have to go out tomorrow during my lunch break. I'm quite busy at work. So hopefully you can see what I've done there. You've shifted from focusing on the problem and the issue and the negative thing, and finding an opportunity within that. So effectively reframing is flipping from the problem to the solution or an opportunity. And over time, the more and more you practice it, it becomes like a habit. It becomes automatic. So I'm used to doing it now. I'll give you another example. The other day I do a bit of pet sitting part-time just to get a bit of extra cash in sometimes. And I walked 15 minutes, I think it was about a month or so ago. And I walked 15 minutes to this lady's house and got there and realised I'd left the key at home. So you can imagine my thought was, oh no, I've just wasted 15 minutes. But immediately I was like, okay, so how can I reframe this into a lesson or an opportunity? So I was like, okay, so what can I focus on instead? Because it is very much about shifting your focus from something that doesn't make you feel good, that's going to create a negative emotion and feeling in your body, to something more positive that's going to shift how you feel. So I was like, okay, so it's done now. So I was like, well, it's a beautiful evening. It's nice and, balmy and warm. So I was like, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to have a nice, evening walk in beautiful, I wouldn't say sunshine, but it was a nice weather. So I reframed it from, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot the key, what a hassle, to actually seeing it as an opportunity. So it's an opportunity to enjoy being out in nature, to be enjoying getting some exercise. Is this helpful? Is this resonating with people? Anyone want to comment? Paul's nodding. Pop in the chat box if there's things that come to mind. But when we start to reframe and catch the thought when it comes in, then we can start to reframe it and switch to, as I say, the lesson, the opportunity, the strength, and the possibilities. Because so often we'll focus on the problem, but let's flip the switch and let's focus on the positives instead. So has anyone got any examples that they'd like to share in terms of where they feel that they've got stuck in a bit of a negative mindset, or something's happened and they've got annoyed or frustrated, or they focus on the problem? Because I do like a challenge and love to help someone to reframe that and look at that from a different perspective. As I say, it does take practice. It is it is about changing the way that you think, but I also want to share with you is about how you can recognize the negative thought and how you can reframe it. So what I'd say is become aware of your thoughts that are coming in and notice when you're focusing on the negative, and notice when you're focusing on the problem, notice rather when you're focusing on a weakness, etc. And then when you have that awareness, okay, that's when you can start flipping the switch or reframing it, and that's when you can actually look at it from a different perspective. You can start looking at the opportunity, the lesson, etc. So I don't know your first name, it's Suzie Fernandez. So I don't know, apologies, I don't know your first name, but she said not getting the promotion you were looking for. Yeah, exactly. So that's not what you want, you know, especially if you've been looking to get promoted. So where's the opportunity in that? What's the lesson in it? If there was some feedback that you got from your manager, and I'm sure Paul's got some insight here as well, then maybe you can go, okay, my lesson is that I can do more self-development in this area, or the opportunity can be I can invest more time or money in my career, and then when I go back I can, you know, be in a position to ask for more money or get a different job, or maybe that one wasn't right for me. So I think there's always a different way of looking at it. So I'd also say, like, you didn't get the promotion you were looking for yet, but what if you get headhunted and someone promotes you in another company and it's more money and it's a better location? So there's always a different way to look at it. There's always a more positive way to look at it. Because when we sit in that heavy emotion of negativity and rejection and disappointment, we don't feel good. So hopefully that helps a little bit in terms of how you can reframe it. Because what reframing does, it doesn't change the situation. Okay, as I said, it changes your response to how you react to the situation. And when you change your response to how you react to the situation, what happens is that physiologically you feel better. You don't feel so low, you don't feel so disappointed, you feel more encouraged, you feel more positive, and you feel more resilient. Okay, so some questions that you can ask yourself in terms of just questions you can ask yourself when you're looking to reframe. So I've got some questions here, so I'll read them out and I'll repeat them so that you can write them down if you want to make a note, because I don't want to be going too fast and I want to make sure this is useful for everyone. So firstly, ask yourself, how can I look at this differently? So if you're coming to a situation going, I didn't get the promotion I wanted, how can I look at this differently? Maybe actually I'm not ready for the promotion. So maybe it was actually a good thing. Maybe I've got a little bit more time to do some training, some education, some research, some shadowing, etc. Okay, so ask yourself, how can you look at the situation differently? How can you look at it from a different perspective? So that's the first thing I'd say to ask yourself. Another thing to ask is, and not necessarily related to the promotion comment in the chat box, but you can apply it to different areas. What are you assuming about a situation? Because it's often our nature to assume things, okay? We often assume things. So ask yourself, what am I assuming about the situation? Okay, so what am I assuming about the situation? And gather your facts, okay? And then flip it. The next question leads on to that. It's like, what's your belief about this situation? And is it true? So, for example, the belief around not getting the promotion you were looking for, was there a belief there that you deserved it and it was unfair that someone else got the promotion? What is the belief about that situation? And then is there evidence there? And just reframe it and just look at it from a different perspective. Because again, as I say, if you're focusing on the negative and the lack, then that's what you're going to get more of. Okay. So another thing is, what can you learn from the situation? And I really love that one. I think it's a really powerful one, because I think it allows us to go, deep and be a little bit reflective, because it's so easy sometimes, isn't it, to step into blame and blame someone else. Oh, it's their fault, or that, they got lucky, or it's not fair, and fall into that kind of slight victim mentality, which we all do at some points in our life. I know I can definitely be guilty of that. So ask yourself, what can I learn from this situation? And I'd even encourage you to journal in it. What can I learn from this situation? So it's really about sort of learning and looking for the opportunities. So, if your train's delayed, or if you didn't get the promotion, what other opportunities are out there for you to pursue? Another question you can ask is, what good things can potentially come from this? Okay, so if you didn't get the promotion, what good things can come from that? Now, I don't know your personal circumstances, what the promotion is, why you wanted it, what your home life is, but it's a question that, again, you can ask yourself or journal on, like, what good things can come from this? Maybe it means that you can have a little bit less pressure, and then when things do eventually return to some level of normality, you can then, move into that higher role. So what good things can come from this? So I just want to check in. Has anyone got any questions so far? Is this helpful? Has anyone else got any comments in terms of things that they've struggled with? It can be anything from little things to bigger things in terms of what they feel they are struggling with in terms of their mindset, their positivity, and their resilience. I can see Paul is typing. Other things I'd say is that when you start to reframe things, there's less stress. There's less stress in your life. You feel calmer. So when I forgot the key, I could have gone into the mindset of like, oh my God, I've just wasted half an hour because I've got to walk 15 minutes back and 15 minutes there. But I reframed it, and I chose to find an opportunity there. Okay, so when we do that, we change our internal state, and we can feel more positive, and it builds our resilience. So Elizabeth has said, I love those questions that often find it hard to focus away from a negative issue. Okay, so Elizabeth, can you tell me a little bit more about why that is and what is happening? Because I'd be happy to support you with that. But what I will say is that I've been doing this for years, and I can still be negative. Okay, I was in a bad mood yesterday. Not an argument, but something with my friend, and I was in a bad mood. We can't be positive all the time. Okay, and don't put that pressure on yourself to feel like you have to be positive all the time. There will be times that you'll be negative, and just step into that and feel it. So Elizabeth said, not a particular issue, but in general, it can take me days to get over it and be positive. Okay, so that's effectively about mental bandwidth. So the more that you practice reframing and looking for the lesson, the opportunity, the strength, the positive, the more you put this into practice, the quicker it will be to recover. So for me, I tend to bounce back really quickly from something that's negative. Okay, sometimes within half an hour. If it's a really big thing, it's a couple of days. Like COVID took me probably a week because that was a bit unprecedented, or another word that we hear all the time. But what I'd say, Elizabeth, is just keep putting this into practice. Become aware of the negative thoughts that are coming into your mind, and ask yourself, I'm going to pop this in the chat box. What positive can you focus on? Okay. What's the lesson? Okay. What's the opportunity? And what strength can you take from the experience? So these are all really, really great questions, and it's basically it's the basis of reframing. What can you focus on that's positive? What is the lesson? What is the opportunity? What strength can you take from the situation? So I hope that's helpful. Does anyone have any other questions? Paul, did you have a question? I saw you typing.
I didn't have a question as such. I popped it in the chat box, just kind of relating back to the promotion comment, and just like yourself, I haven't gone public with this, but I have finished my NLP practitioner course about 4 weeks or so ago now, and one of lots of things kind of resonated with me. But one of the things that that you would remember from the NLP kind of ethos is that one of the presuppositions is that there's never any failure, always only feedback.
Absolutely.
It's something that really kind of stuck with me, and with that promotion kind of comment, it provides you with the feedback to then go on to then be even better. And of course that's not the ideal situation, that's not happening there and then, but ultimately you've now got the feedback to then kind of push on and do an even better job once you've applied that.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. That's a reframe, isn't it? Accepting where you are, accepting what's happened, accepting your thought process, the experience, the result, accepting that something didn't work out, and then reframing it and looking at the opposite and going, well, what can I take from this? What's the lesson? What's the opportunity? What can I focus on instead? Kerry said being made redundant during COVID. Now that's a tough one because it's something that none of us have ever really experienced before, a pandemic. But I would say reframe it in terms of like, what are the positives there? So like, what can you start to enjoy that you didn't enjoy before? Can you spend more, like, what can you be grateful for as well? I think grateful is a really important aspect as well with reframing. So what can you be grateful for? Having more time with your family, having more support on LinkedIn, because I see so many people, including Paul, come together to help assistants and everyone that's been made redundant. So look at the positives, and being made redundant as a result of COVID is horrible and it upsets me, and I help where I can. But I would just say, don't focus all your energy on that negative, and just switch it and reframe it to like, oh, okay, well, that gives me opportunity to spend more time with my family. Like I actually coached a client around this, and he had so used to being working all the time, and he traveled quite a lot, and his whole life was literally working. He was a high level EA, and then he was like, I don't know how I'm going to cope with just being at home all day. And so we started to explore it, and I said, okay, so what would you like to do that you haven't been able to do because you've been working so much? And he's like, well, I know I need to do the DIY, I love my fitness. And we started to reframe it for him. So we started to reframe it from, oh, I'm at home all day, I'm stuck, I've not got a job, to what he could do to proactively create structure in his day. So he was doing exercise in the morning, then he spent an hour on LinkedIn and different stuff like that. And he's now got a job. He's got a job. He started a new job. He was out of work for a month. But when we reframe it and start to look at the opportunities instead of focus on the negatives, and I'm not negating what's happened at all because it's awful, but I know that when we start to focus more on the positives and look at the opportunities and the things that we can be grateful for, then things really do start to shift. I'm just picking up some other questions in here and comments because we've got time. So Sarah says, I'm struggling with procrastinating over increasing my LinkedIn activities. Okay, so I mean, that's not necessarily a reframe, but you could, if you're saying to yourself, like, I don't want to do LinkedIn, firstly ask yourself why. What is the block? Get curious with your thoughts, and then just reframe it and just go like, I'm spending 15 minutes on LinkedIn, or I know that LinkedIn is going to give me an opportunity to connect with like-minded people that can support me. So look at what it's giving you instead of like, I don't want to do it. Because like, I do LinkedIn and I do LinkedIn marketing for my business, but trust me, most days I'm like, I really don't want to do this. But then I reframe it and go, well, what is it giving me? And Paul's smirking because he knows marketing takes time and effort. But what is it giving me? It's given me an opportunity to reach out. If I hadn't marketed myself, me and Paul would never have spoken. I wouldn't be here today. So that's the reframe, okay? That's what it's given me. So instead of going, oh, I'm struggling with procrastinating over LinkedIn, focus on what 10 or 15 minutes on LinkedIn will give you. Like reframe it to the opportunity Okay. Sorry, just that was that one. Yeah, so Kerry's gone. My silver lining has been that I've got a new job start in 2 weeks. Congratulations, Kerry. I love hearing that. Okay. And hearing stuff like this, let it inspire you. Don't let it kind of drag you down and think, oh my God, Kerry's got a new job, I haven't. Don't get into that comparisonitis, because that's not going to help. Reframe it again and going, well, Kerry's got a new job, I'm going to get a new job. Keep focusing on what you want. Kerry said another reframe. I've connected with so many wonderful, supportive people on LinkedIn in the last 5 months, webinars like this. Again, that's a reframe. It's literally just switching it from a negative into some form of positive, whether it's gratitude, whether it's recognizing the lesson or the opportunity. So if I have an argument with my friend or a friend, then I look at what can I learn from that? Okay, what is the lesson there for me? Or if I work too hard and then I feel exhausted, like I can sit and moan and go, oh, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, like I've got so much to do. Or I can reframe it and go, well, what did I learn today? Well, I learned that I shouldn't do a 12-hour day, or whatever it might be. So you can always flip it. So I think those are pretty much, I don't think I've missed any comments. So does anyone else have any more questions for me in terms of today's webinar, in terms of reframing? Just pop in the chat box if you have. You can see further up the questions that I've given you. The other questions, just to repeat them to make sure you've got them, were ask yourself, how can I look at this situation, this event differently? What am I assuming about this situation? What's my belief about the situation, and is it true? What can I learn from this situation? What opportunity can I find, and what good things can come? I want to share one other example, actually, because I think it's probably relevant to a lot of people here. Now, who's ever had, this probably doesn't apply to you, Paul, who's ever had a day in the office and their boss has been difficult or challenging in some way or demanding? Yeah, us every day, right, Paul? Entrepreneurs, we challenge ourselves all the time. But what I mean is, like, maybe your boss has had a bit of a go at you, or he snapped at you, or something like that. So instead of sitting in that victim and that blame, like, oh, my boss is an idiot, and start to reframe it and go, okay, well, maybe he's having a bad day. Maybe he's got something going on at home that's personal. Don't sit in that negative energy, and start to look at, the lesson there. Like, what are the opportunities? What might be happening in his life that he's reacted like that? Maybe he's like that all the time. Maybe he's just not a great boss. I don't know. But let's just get outside of our own internal thought process and start putting ourselves into the other person's shoes, and start thinking, okay, well, he's got this big project on, or he's managing, this or whatever. So there's always a different way to look at things. But as I said before, it takes practice. It does take time. So have the awareness of your thoughts, look for the opportunity, the lesson, the gratitude, etc., and then just change it and keep practicing it, because the more you do it, the easier it will become. Okay, so I hope you found that useful. I've also got, if this is relevant to anyone, this is a link to, I've created a little PDF. It's called 5 Things You Need to Know Before You Quit the 9 to 5, for those that are looking to sort of set up on the VA side of things. So you can download that there. Jacqueline, hi Jacqueline. It says it doesn't make it right to have your boss shout at you. Totally agree, absolutely agree. Yeah, and I think that there's definitely needs to be respect. But what I'm also saying is that when we sit in that feeling of it was unjust, it was unfair, the only person we're hurting is ourselves. And I'm not saying that your boss shouting at you is right, because I've had bosses shout at me before, not myself, but and it's absolutely wrong. But we can change our reaction to the situation. We don't have to, feel unhappy. We can choose how we think and feel, effectively, what I'm saying. But I do agree with you, Jacqueline. No one should ever shout at you. I think, respect is absolutely due in any role. So I'm going to pass it back over to Paul now. And if anyone's got any remaining questions, then pop it in the chat. Otherwise, I hope today's session has been helpful and interesting.
It's very interesting indeed, Susie. Thank you so much for your time, and what a way to kind of come back and and chat about it. I think it's a really good subject matter, especially where we are in the kind of current situation and marketplaces right now. I think it's very, very useful kind of tidbits of advice there. So it's great to see so many familiar faces and names back here. Kerry, well done on getting a new job. That's amazing news. And Sarah, going back to what Susie mentioned about social media and procrastinating, a lot of people have that. A lot of people have that kind of feeling, oh, shall I, shan't I? But from a personal perspective, I kind of made a commitment to myself that I would grow my social media reach over the last kind of 2 years. And I've seen my reach go from 4,000 to 10,000 plus now in that space of time. And the only advice that I can give you is just go for it, because nobody sees your post, nobody sees it. So, and it's it doesn't necessarily matter. So just go out and try some things, try connecting with people, chatting to people, and I guarantee you, if you're consistent and you commit to, in the first instance, one post a day, you'll start getting results. I promise you.
Yeah, and I want to echo what Paul's saying and sort of add a few bits myself as well, Sarah. And I think chunk it down. If you don't want to spend a whole hour online, let's face it, like we're online a lot at the moment. I've got 4 Zoom calls today, and that's enough for one day. So you can break it down. Set a timer for 10 minutes and go, right, I'm going to do 10 minutes, and then go celebrate. Give your cat a cuddle, give the dog a cuddle, make a cup of tea. Stand outside and get some fresh air. But acknowledge it. And also I'd say focus on your outcome. Don't just look at it as like, oh, I've got to be on social media. Do it with the end in mind, with the outcome in mind. Like, always have your why in your head. Like, why am I doing this? So if you're doing it for job hunting, are you networking, then focus on the outcome. Is that reframe again, instead of going, oh god, I hate doing social media again. I'm so grateful that I get to network on social media, because it gives me opportunities to join webinars such as this, or connect with people. So break it down, focus on the outcome, and just know that it will all help. It will just help you reach your goal.
Definitely, I couldn't agree more. And I couldn't agree more with all of that. And as I say, if you just, consistency is the key to that, if that's what you're trying to kind of do to build your reach. But it does take time. It doesn't just happen overnight. So
no, it doesn't. And Jacqueline's saying that she's a complete novice about LinkedIn. You know what? At one point I was, but start from where you are. Okay, start from where you are, because that's all you can do. Start with what you know, and then just learn as you go along, or ask for help. Okay, so there's loads of people out there that will help you.
Definitely, and there's no real science to what works and what doesn't work. I've had times where I will spend a week preparing one post, thinking it's going to go crazy, and 200 people view it, and my most popular ever post, I put it together within seconds. Didn't spend any thought on it at all, and it got viewed over 90,000 times, and I was like, how has this happened? It just I didn't put any thought process into it whatsoever. So there's a big science to it. It's just about kind of being consistent and doing it over and over again.
I would say don't overthink it. And for me personally, not everyone agrees with this, but I would say, like, you can share part of who you are on LinkedIn. It's not that kind of old-fashioned, like it's just for job hunting. One of my most popular posts was a simple post, pizza, pineapple or no pineapple, and I got responses like, honestly, like I'm in the pineapple camp.
That post actually says
it was just a little bit of a frivolous fun thing. I was like, what can I do to build some engagement? And I had so many people engaging me. Fruit on pizza, absolutely not. Yes, definitely pineapple. And it built relationships. And it was fun, because work, business, it doesn't have to be hard work all the time. You can make it fun. So just show up as you, and just know that you're doing the best that you can.
Brilliant. Great advice. So look, thanks for joining us, everybody. We appreciate your time, and of course, we appreciate your time, Suzie. We've got some amazing things lined up. Tomorrow, we're speaking to Bonnie Low Cram. I think that's how you pronounce her surname. She's a real.
Crayman.
She's a
Bonnie Low Crayman.
Crayman, sorry. Yeah, she's a real force of nature, and you know, it would be a very. I'm interviewing her, so it'll be a very interesting. I better make sure I pronounce her name correctly.
Crayman.
I'll just call her Bonnie. And,
yeah, she's lovely.
So that will be fun. That's 3 o'clock tomorrow. Next week, I'm going to go live, and I'm going to do something that my colleagues in the recruitment industry are probably going to kill me for. I'm going to give PAs tips on how to apply for jobs directly and bypass recruitment agencies. So, as I say, that's something that recruitment colleagues will probably kill me for, but I think it's worth you guys having that kind of, you know, those kind of tips and advice. Next week we're speaking to Lisa from Miss Jones, and then the following week we've got
me again.
Anxiety. We've got an anxiety webinar, and Suzie is back again, basically.
I'm going to be doing it every 2 weeks because I'm quite busy in my business. So me and Paul had a discussion about what we felt was right and what I could commit to, because it does take time to prepare this. I mean, I could probably waffle, but I like to prepare so I can give you valuable support. So yeah, so it will be every 2 weeks. So I'll be back in 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks.
Perfect. And last but not least, there's a collection of people who are huge names in the industry working on an amazing event that we've got planned for the 1st of October. You'll see some teaser messages coming around social media. But if you're thinking of setting up a virtual assistant business, I would put the evening of the 1st of October in your diary, because all will be revealed soon. But 10, 12 people are very excited to kind of collaborate and bring something very special together. So lots going on.
Yes, absolutely.
Brilliant. Well, look, thanks for your time, everyone. Thanks for your support. Sorry we've been gone for such a long time, but we haven't just been sitting around with our feet up.
I wish. No, I've been to the Bahamas, Paul. Don't know about you. I haven't. I wish I had.
So look, Suzie, as always, it's an honour and a pleasure. Thanks so much, and we'll see everyone very, very soon. Thanks for joining us.
Paul, have you got a few minutes at the end just to stay on with me?
Yeah, definitely. See you soon.
Thanks, everyone. Lovely to see you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.